And we are back. Thank you so very much for staying with us. And in case you're just joining us, you are right on time for our gold conversation. Now, during my very many farm visits, I noticed several problems in different farms, and I noticed that these problems were occurrent in very many other farms in the different regions that we were visiting. So today, with the help of our professional expert, Mr. Jim Nyaga, we will have a look at all these problems one by one, and we will be giving solutions to our farmers. Karibu sana, Mr. Jim. Welcome to Kenya's Gold again.
Thank you.
It's so nice to have you with us right here in studio. And we are going to go to the farm. Remember, I told you this is going to be a very interesting gold conversation because it has two parts. So the problem number one that we spotted in Kakamega County, here it is for you. Problem number one, kuna magugu, kuna nyasi, wamemea sana, and different kinds of weeds. Na wako kwa wingi sana. Dear experts, what is the condition of this farm when it comes to weeds? Tumeenda sana ama tuko sawa? Na tuwatoe aje?
Thank you. The farm looks, let me be honest, a little bit pathetic because as you can see, weeds are strewn all over. And the major challenge I can see with the weeds is that they are perennial weeds, grassy, that are, when we use that language, we call them obnoxious or pernicious weeds, that are quite difficult to eradicate. And that's why probably the farmer is not able to keep up with the speed of the weeds. Because as you can see, the weeds have stylons and rhizomes. And I think for this farmer to make sure that that farm is clean, there's a lot of work for him to do.
Right.
Yes,
so when we talk about perennial weed, there are different types of weeds. Kuna grasses, then there's the perennial weeds. Please break down for us the different kinds. Now, just in case niende kwa shamba, probably I want to lease a farm, and I find that this particular farm has perennial weeds. Should I go ahead and list that farm, ama hiyo ni kujitafutia tu shida hapo mbele, because these weeds will keep coming back and coming back and coming back?
Correct. So when it comes to maize farming, we have in general two types of weeds. We have the grass one, like couch grass, which is quite notorious, and then we have also the broad-leaved ones, like oxalis. So the two, when it comes to control, you find that if you really want to control them, you need to eradicate. That is like for the couch grass, it has rhizomes and stylons. So those ones you need to like literally physically pull them out. Because even if you spray herbicides, you just control the grassy part of it, and then underneath, they just stay calm and wait for the right conditions, and then they reemerge. When it comes to oxalis, inside it has a rhizome, a bulb that looks like an onion bulb. So it has all the food reserves there, and when it comes, then the conditions are good, it will just sprout and come out. Right. If you are a farmer and you want to lease a piece of land for maize farming and you find that it has a lot of weeds, I would advise you just first work on the weeds, work on the tillage. Make sure that you have minimized them as much as possible. After planting, don't apply the CAN top dressing, the first one, without having to deal with the weeds first. Okay. Because what weeds do, they grow very fast and their competition is quite stiff.
Right. Yeah. So for a maize farmer, the best time kutoa weeds round ya kwanza ni during what period?
After 2 weeks. Two weeks after the crop comes up.
So that's even before the first top dressing?
Yes, because you apply the CAN and all of that, more than half, goes with the weeds because they are heavy feeders. Good. Yes.
Thank you so very much for those insights on weeds. Now I want us to have a look at the second problem that we found in this particular maize farm. Problem number 2. Hapa ni kama pests wamefanya ile kitu. Mmea wetu uko in very bad condition, mashimo kila mahali. We can see here ni kama kuna residue ya kitu fulani. Please, expert, tuambie hapa kunaenda aje. What is the solution for this?
Thank you. This is cutworm, as you can see. Cutworm, not cutworm, but fall armyworm. Fall armyworm is a very notorious pest in maize, because as you can see, the holes you're seeing, we call them window panes. It clears all the tissues on top, part of the leaf, and on the under part of the leaf. So tawi linabaki kama liko na mashimo that you can see through, like window panes. What you are seeing, the black, the white thing you are seeing, that's the excreta. Residue, yeah. It's called frass, ama excreta, because you see this pest is biological, so it goes leaving its wastes all over, wherever it goes. So when we have such kind of a pest, it shows when you look at that crop, by the time it reaches that point, it means either huyu mkulima hakuwa keen enough, we call it scouting. Because this fall armyworm starts when the crop is just very young.
Before, after germination,
After
maybe
germination,
after how many weeks
3 weeks
can
after
you get?
germination,
3 weeks
you'll
after.
be able to see if you are a keen farmer.
Okay.
And one thing I like telling farmers, usilime shamba yako then uondoke. Just stay there because hawa ni maadui wa mimea yako. So as you can see at that stage, when by the time all those perforations and holes are happening, it means there was a lot of delay somewhere, or the farmer overlooked or did not come back again to see how the crop is doing, and we call it scouting. So basically, you see, when it is in that state, we spray, but spraying may not control everything at once, and the damage is quite extensive, especially if it feeds on the leaves. Remember, leaves are sites for photosynthesis, so the crop will be affected. So
as is, what will be the effect on the yield of that particular farm?
Correct. So as I was saying, the photosynthesis process is slowed down. So there will be not enough photosynthesis to fill the maize cob. So what you'll find, especially if the larvae feeds on there is that top leaf we call the apical leaf. So once that one is fed upon, you may have losing the whole plant, because now, as you can see, it is in the funnel. You remember that farmer who told you they spray in the funnel. Iyo sehemu ya shimo kutoka hapa juu. So the moment those leaves are affected, you get stunted crop.
Gross. All right.
So the crop gets stunted, then now it means other metabolic physiological processes are interfered with. So finally inatoa tu cobs kidogo sana, and there's no enough grain in there. So you find finally mkulima atakuwa na mazao madogo sana. It has just, the farmer can lose even 50%. So the whole. So
it's very important mkulima apige lap kwa shamba yake kila siku anaangalia.
Scouting.
So still, while in this county, there are farmers who told me, because unajua hii dawa pia saa zingine it's very expensive for some of these farmers to buy. Wanakuambia wanatumia wood ash. Wanamwaga ka wood ash hapo kwa hiyo funnel, because that's where the fall armyworm inaingia. Is that something you recommend?
Okay, for sometimes yes, it works. You know, these are things that farmers do. Even in some places we use soil. So it's not that it has the chemical aspect of it, but it just antagonizes the worm during its activity, because the worm would want the funnel to be clean so that it continues with its damage. So it has no maybe chemical aspect of it, but it's biological, and in some places it works. Yes,
it works. It does. All right, but the push and pull technology will work.
Where we have maybe in a crop of maize, at the periphery we have another crop that will just attract the fall armyworms first. And then now, before they think of coming to maize, it has passed that stage that is good and quite safe for any damage that can be done significantly.
Great. So my farmers, we are advising you to make sure you're growing some napier at the border in your farm. All right, great. Let us have a look at the third problem that we found in this maize farm in Kakamega County. Problem number 3. Here definitely naona tuko na shida ya nutrient flani. There's a nutrient deficiency. Dear expert, tumekosa nutrient gani until our leaves are becoming yellow and slowly drying up? Also, is there a solution for this?
Yeah, there is a solution. The critical nutrient here is nitrogen. And nitrogen affects most of the older leaves. That's why unaona ina affect wale wako kule chini, wale walitoka kwanza. So when you look at the leaf lamina or the leaf surface, you find the yellowing starts from the tip, coming inwards towards the center of the leaf. And it draws some sort of a V shape. And mostly the older leaves are more affected, leading to something we call senescence or premature fall of leaves. And then you find most of your part of the maize does not have leaves that can be able to support that plant all the way to maturity. So if you find yellowing of leaves which are older, then that tells you a critical nutrient is missing, and that is nitrogen. Right. So how do we recover? And also let me know if at some point it can go back to its green state. Is that a possibility in the farm? Ama hapa sasa, it's like we are outside. It's not a possibility, but what you do, there is something we call regenerative regrowth. So the older ones will just fall off. They will fall off, they will not be able to produce. But now the ones that are old, if you feed it with more nitrogen, remember the crop is still at its early stages. So as it rises up and grows in height, more new leaves and shoots will keep on coming. So if it is detected early enough, and you just top up now with nitrogen, or use foliar feeds that are quite high in nitrogen, it is going to recover. But the leaves that have already been affected, those ones, there's no remedy. Is this the part where now a farmer makes sure ametafuta agronomist ndo amwambie
hii dawa iko na more nitrogen? Because not all these farmers will be able to tell you the percentage of the different nutrients that are in the different, you know, chemicals that they're using in the farm. Yeah. So how do we go about that part so that we make sure we are not overusing nutrients that is not needed? Unaweza enda weke kitu hapo yenye iko na more phosphorus and what you need is nitrogen. So how do we deal with that? So
farmers need to keep on talking to the experts and agronomists. Nowadays in Kenya there are very few, but when this farmer walks into an agrovet or a stockist, they're able to get quite a lot of these foliar feeds, which have high concentration or high content of N. So I think at this point now it's where we have advisory services coming in, and farmers should have maybe somebody, an agronomist, who can give professional advice, somebody they can rely and depend on, and they call.
Are those services affordable?
They are affordable.
They are
affordable.
Wakulima wasiogope?
Wasiogope.
Unajua saa zingine wanasikianga, kuita expert hapa hiyo ni 5,000 nimeenda hivyo for consultation na naweza nunua mbegu zingine.
Okay. You work with the farmers and the conditions in which they are working, because it's something that you agree. You also look at a farmer and look at the financial strength. Okay. If you really want to assist this farmer to produce, then you just charge what you are required to charge. If you are a government officer, then you are not required to charge. You're just required to offer your services because that is now public service. Yes.
Talk to me about the effect of that yellowing on yield. Kwa sababu pale kwa fall armyworms umetuambia huyo mkulima can be affected to even 50%.
Yes.
So when it comes to this yellowing, how much can a farmer be affected when it comes to the end product during harvesting?
Yeah, we talk about 60% loss.
More even than the
remember,
ones.
Yeah, the leaf surface, it is the one that intercepts sunlight, so that we have that process of photosynthesis. So from the photosynthesis, we have photosynthates, which are supposed to be channeled all the way to mbegu, ambazo ziko kwa maize cob. So if you don't have much of this surface able to intercept sunlight, then it means either you'll have very small berries, or on your maize cob you'll have very few scattered berries, or what you have are just something that you cannot harvest later.
Right.
So shorter cobs, because now what happens with the crop, it decides because I'm just going through stress and I don't have resources, I'll just produce very small cobs, very few grains. Therefore, you end up having a lot of losses in terms of yield.
Good. Yes. Thank you so much for that. Let us have a look at the next problem that we noted in our maize farm. Problem number 4. Hapa tunaona ni kama matawi yetu iko na stripes of different colors. Kuna green, kuna yellow. Yani si ile rangi ya majani ambayo tumezoea. Dear expert, what is happening to our crop here? Should I be worried as a farmer?
Okay. That can happen because of two scenarios. There is a disease we call maize streak necrosis virus. And that disease, sometimes the way it manifests itself, you find that you are not having per se a leaf surface that is quite green in uniformity. Also, that situation can arise because of lack of or low levels of magnesium, whereby you find, we call it chlorosis. You find it is dark, but there are some parts, you can see the veins. The veins on the leaf surface. They are too green, but the rest or the other part of the leaf is yellow. Yeah. So those can be as a result of two conditions.
Right.
So lethal disease, which we call lethal maize necrosis disease, or very low levels of magnesium, which is a micronutrient. Yes.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask, because in maize we have the macronutrients, micronutrients, and the trace elements, right?
Yeah.
So kuna ile possibility ya kusema mi bora nisha get all the macronutrients, the micro I can ignore.
You can ignore.
Do they have also like serious effects kwa crops if I don't achieve the micronutrients as well?
Sure. They play a critical role, though they are required in very, very small amounts. So they tend up being ignored, or a farmer thinks they are not good enough, or there's no need to just apply them. But you find in the long run, the quality of maize product that comes out from the whole farm, it's totally wanting.
Mr. Jim, I'm quite worried because I noticed these problems in so many farms. Kuna kwingine ulikuwa unapata even almost half of the farm iko na hiyo shida ya fall armyworms. Then of course we have in other parts where the leaves is becoming purple, not even yellow. So I'm wondering, are our farmers sensitized enough? Are we just growing things and not really getting it right? What will that lead to in our production eventually?
Okay. You know, one thing farmers try to do, and I've been in extension for quite some time, farmers like taking shortcuts. You see, all these problems on the nutrition balance should arise from results of soil analysis after soil tests have been done. So what farmers do, they wake up, it's time for planting, they get in the farm, they prepare. Some even don't want to, they're just in a hurry because the way they perceive farming, hii ni kitu ya kufanya niondoke, then I go to other things. And then you find the level of concentration and the attention that they pay to the crop is not as much. So you end up finding that the farmer has just done whatever they feel is good. And then a farmer who has been farming or growing maize for quite some time, they talk of 10 years, 20 years, 2 decades, they think there's nothing more that they need to be given. But remember, the soil, because of all the time we're extracting nutrients from the same soil in terms of monocropping, it's not the way it was 20 years ago.
Right.
So this farmer needs to have analysis done and know how much of each requires to be applied, also apply lime, and take time to understand the physiology of your crop.
Great.
Otherwise, they'll end up having all these challenges every season.
Season in, season out.
Sure.
Good. Thank you so very much, Mr. Jim Nyaga, for those insights. We are taking another break right now, but do not go anywhere, because when we come back, we're going to look at other problems that we noted in the farm. And like I promised you earlier, we will also have a look at some of the recent government initiatives in the maize sector. That and more when we come back from this break. Oh.